1930, a steel skeleton begins to rise above the rubble of Manhattan. America is in the grip of the worst economic collapse in its history. Banks are failing and unemployment soars, yet here in the heart of New York City, something impossible is taking shape. Floor by floor, a tower climbs skyward. Men balance on narrow beams 1,000 feet above the street, with nothing but skill and nerve between them and certain death. The stock market has crashed, fortunes have vanished, but John Jacob Raskob is betting everything on this audacious gamble. His vision? The tallest structure ever built by human hands. Materials must arrive exactly when needed, not a moment too early or too late. The building will eventually contain enough steel to build a railroad from New York to Chicago, all rising on a footprint barely larger than a city block. But darker questions loom. Can the structure withstand the punishing winds at unprecedented heights? And if completed, will anyone actually occupy this mammoth tower in the midst of an economic ruin? This is the story of the Empire State Building, a race against gravity, economic collapse, and the limits of human engineering. A monument built not of steel and stone, but of ambition and defiance. New York, 1929. Two titans of industry locked in a silent combat. Walter Chrysler, the automobile magnate, and John Jacob Raskob, the financial wizard behind General Motors. Their battleground, the Manhattan skyline. Chrysler moved first. His gleaming Art Deco tower rose on 42nd Street with a secret weapon, a 125-foot spire assembled in 4 parts inside the building itself. On October 23, 1929, the spire burst forth from the building like a silver dagger reaching 1,046 feet. The Eiffel Tower had finally been surpassed. Walter Chrysler had won, or so he thought. Just one day later, the stock market crashed. Black Thursday, the beginning of financial ruin for millions, but Raskob didn't flinch. While others retreated, he advanced. His Empire State Building would rise 1,250 feet, towering nearly 200 feet above Chrysler's pride and joy. "We'll build it in 18 months, Raskob announced. Experts scoffed. Impossible, they said. Raskob smiled. He had already acquired the old walled-off Astoria building. Plans were drawn, financing secured. Raskob wanted to crush any doubt. His building would rise 86 stories, but the crowning feature reveals the true scale of his ambition. A 200-foot mooring mast designed as a docking station for transatlantic airships. Passengers would step from their zeppelin directly onto the roof of the world's tallest building, 1,250 feet above Manhattan, the ultimate entrance to New York City. Science fiction made manifest in steel and concrete. Newspapers mocked the idea. Engineers questioned its feasibility. Raskob pushed forward regardless. The future, he insists, will happen here, a quarter-mile above 5th Avenue. Total height, 1,454 feet, utterly beyond reach. By spring 1930, steel began rising at the Empire State site, 4.5 floors per week, a vertical factory of unprecedented efficiency, a new floor completed each day. Nothing like it had ever been attempted. For Chrysler, his tower was the physical embodiment of his life's work, his name literally written in the Manhattan sky. For Raskob, the Empire State Building was his declaration of supremacy, but as the Depression deepened, a sobering question emerged. In a world of breadlines and bank failures, who would fill these monuments to ambition? Steel rises into the Manhattan sky at an unprecedented pace, 16 stories by December 1930, 40 by January, 85 by March. "We're not just building," Construction Chief William Starlett told his men. "We're performing a vertical ballet." 500 tons of steel arrived daily, tucked in overnight, hoisted skyward before dawn. By the time most New Yorkers arrive at work, another floor already takes shape above them. 60,000 tons of steel, 10 million bricks, all flowing to a single Manhattan block. The Skyboys, Mohawk ironworkers from Canada with an almost supernatural tolerance for heights, balance on the narrow beams 1,000 feet up. They catch white-hot rivets in metal cones and slam them into place with pneumatic hammers. One missed catch means death. "You get used to it," one worker tells reporters, "but you never stop paying attention. Each man knows someone who has fallen." External elevators shuttle men and materials upward as the building rises. When conventional methods prove too slow, innovations emerge. Traditional brick hoisting is abandoned for an express system delivering 12,000 bricks per hour. Steel columns are riveted together on the ground, then raised in longer sections. Winter winds at 1,000 feet reach near hurricane force. Steel beams slick with ice turn lethal. Still, the work continues. Most remarkably, only 5 men died during construction, a tragically small number for a project of this magnitude. As the Empire State Building approaches its final height, men work in clouds, the city below a distant abstraction. On March 17, 1931, the final piece of structural steel is hoisted into place, just 410 days after construction began. The impossible had been achieved. Raskob's audacious timeline had been met for American ingenuity and sheer force of will. But as the last rivet is driven home, a troubling question echoes. Who will occupy this colossal achievement in a nation gripped by an economic collapse? It opens with fanfare on May 1st, 1931. President Hoover presses a button in Washington, D.C., symbolically lighting the Empire State Building. Newspapers call it the 8th wonder of the world, but behind the celebratory headline lies something troubling. Vast floors sit vacant, echoing, empty. The Depression has tightened its grip on America. Businesses are contracting, not expanding. By year's end, the building is only 25% occupied. Construction costs of $41 million need to be recouped, while property taxes alone demand $2 million annually. Rental income barely reaches $1.2 million. The mathematics of failure are inescapable. New Yorkers coin a cruel nickname, the empty state building. The mooring mast, that grand spire reaching towards the clouds, becomes the building's most visible folly. Not a single airship ever docked here. Test runs revealed a brutal reality. Powerful updrafts near the building create air currents too dangerous for approach. The handful of attempts end in near disaster, airships bucking wildly in the turbulence. One pilot describes it as trying to thread a needle in a hurricane. The gleaming metal port, designed for the elegant arrival of Europe's elite, sits untouched. Elevators meant to bring passengers down from the clouds never carry a single traveler. The building's most distinctive feature, the very element that pushes it beyond Chrysler's reach, serves no practical purpose at all. The Empire State Building operates at a loss for the first 20 years. On paper, one of the greatest commercial failures in American history. Then, in 1933, something unexpected happens. Moviegoers watch in awe as a giant ape climbs the world's tallest building, swatting at planes while clutching a screaming woman. King Kong transforms the Empire State Building overnight. What was once a real estate disaster becomes a Hollywood legend. The film's climactic 15 minutes played out on the building's upper floors and observation deck create perhaps the most iconic movie scene of the decade. Audiences were mesmerized by the sight of the colossal structure they had heard so much about. For millions who would never visit New York, the Empire State Building was no longer an abstract achievement. It was the backdrop for King Kong's last stand. The building became a character in its own right, both villain and victim in the unfolding drama. The very height that had made the building impactful suddenly became its greatest asset. The film does what no marketing campaign could do. It transforms a failing office tower into the world's most recognizable silhouette. Within months of the film's release, daily visitors to the observation deck triple. Tourists from across America and around the world flock to the famous structure, hoping to stand where Kong made his last stand. The Empire State Building appears on posters, postcards, and in newsreels. What fails as office space succeeds spectacularly as spectacle. During World War II, the building takes on a new significance as a navigation point for military aircraft. Post-war prosperity finally brings tenants. The economic boom of the 1950s fills those long empty offices. Television antennas sprout from the silhouette, bringing in new revenue streams. By the mid-1950s, the building finally breaks even. Today, the Empire State Building no longer holds the title of the world's tallest. The Burj Khalifa in Dubai reaches nearly 3 times its height. One World Trade Center stands taller on Manhattan's own skyline, but as taller towers rise worldwide, the Empire State Building's stature has somehow grown rather than diminished. In 1986, it was designated a National Historic Landmark. Its silhouette is instantly recognizable to people who have never even set foot in New York. A $550 million renovation transforms the aging office tower into a model of sustainability, proving that architectural heritage and environmental responsibility can coexist. When tragedy struck New York on September 11, 2001, the Empire State Building reclaimed its position as Manhattan's tallest structure. In those dark days, the building took on new meaning, a reminder of New York's resilience, its ability to endure. In film, the Empire State Building has played countless roles: backdrop for lovers in Sleepless in Seattle, obstacle courses for superheroes, meeting place for star-crossed souls in An Affair to Remember. Its clean lines and setback design, pioneered by the Empire State, became a template to skyscrapers worldwide. Perhaps most remarkably, the Empire State Building has achieved something no super tall has ever managed since. It has become beloved. New Yorkers feel ownership of it, pride in it. It belongs to the city in a way no corporate headquarters ever could. In the end, the Empire State Building's true achievement isn't height or design or even longevity, it's meaning. A structure built in humanity's darkest economic hour that came to represent our highest aspirations. A skyscraper that reached beyond the sky to touch something more profound, our collective imagination. Other buildings may scrape higher heavens, but none will ever cast quite the same shadow.